Hi y'all, I'm going to be reading from Tangerine, Wednesday, November 29th on page 248. I stayed out of school again today. I got dressed at about 10 and went back to sit for a while. Mom came out with a telephone and handed it to me. Another girl, she said, a different one. I waited until she went back to press the button. Hello? Paul Fisher? Yes. This is Teresa Cruz. Teresa, I'm really sorry to hear about what happened. She interrupted me. Her tone was all business. Yeah, I know that. Look, I have to tell you something. Don't you be coming to Luis's funeral. I stammered. Okay. Henry says you're talking about coming, but Tino and Victor and those guys are saying some bad stuff, so you better not show your face at Luis's funeral. I'm calling to tell you that. All right. I don't want any more bad stuff to happen, especially not at the funeral. No, of course not. So I'm just telling you. Then she hung up. I sat there with my mouth wide open. They knew everything. Teresa, Tino, Tomas, and his brother, Victor, and the others, they all knew the truth. They knew that Luis came looking for Eric last Tuesday, and they knew what happened to him at the school. They knew that he didn't get hit by any frozen tree branch. How did they know? I jumped up and hurried through the gate to the front of the house. I turned left and headed down the sidewalk. I had to get away. I had to think. My mind was racing with questions. Did Luis tell someone about it? Of course he did. If he told me about it, he told other people too. Did I really think I could keep this secret from them all? Does everybody in Tangerine blame me now? Am I just as guilty as Eric? I was all the way down at the entrance pond before I stopped. I stood there and stared at the dark water until I finally understood. And it was so very simple. There's no big mystery here. The truth about Luis is obvious to all the people around him. Their lives are not made up of bits and pieces of versions of the truth. They don't live that way. They know what really happened. Period. Why would that seem so mysterious to me? I sat on the bank and stared at the lifeless water. After a few minutes, I heard the noise behind me and turned. A little boy on a little bike had pulled up about 10 feet away. He looked to be about 5 years old, not old enough to be out on the road by himself. He sat there, staring at me, aside his red 20-inch bike. Then he pointed at the pond and said, "They say there's a gator in there." I looked back at the pond. I wanted him to leave, but he went on, "They say a gator came out of there last year and ate a kid." I turned back toward him. "Oh yeah? Who says that?" "My mom and dad." I shook his head. "Well, forget it. That didn't happen." He shook his head right back at me. "My mom and dad said it did." I thought about it. I thought about my own mom and dad, and I looked him right in the eye. "Then they're lying to you. They're telling you a story just so they could keep you scared. They want you to be scared. Do you understand?" He stiffened. "My mom and dad don't tell me stories." I rose up onto my knees so that we were eye to eye. "Oh no? Did they ever tell you about a kid that went swimming right after he ate and he got cramps and he drowned?" "Yeah." "Well, did you ever meet that kid?" "No." "Okay, did they ever tell you about a kid who climbed a utility pole to get his kite back and got electrocuted?" "Yeah." "And did you ever meet that kid?" "How could I meet him if he's dead?" "How about a kid who got bitten by a stray dog and he got rabies and he started foaming at the mouth? Did they ever tell you about him? Did you ever meet him?" The boy straightened out on the front wheel of his bike and started to back away. "My mom and dad don't lie to me." I got onto my feet. My voice was rising. "No? How about this one? Did they ever tell you about the kid that went out to play football in a thunderstorm and he got struck by lightning and he got killed?" He shook his head. "Or this one. Did they tell you about the kid who climbed a tree with a sharp pair of clippers in his hand and he fell out of the tree and he stabbed himself? Did they ever tell you about either of those kids? Did you ever meet either of them?" "No." "Well, I did. I met both of them." He continued to back away. I shouted after him, "What about this one? Did you ever hear about this kid? This stupid kid who wouldn't listen to anybody and who stared at a solar eclipse and he went blind. Did you ever hear about him? Did you ever meet him?" The poor kid pedaled away as fast as he could. I didn't watch him go, but I bent over and looked down at my own murky reflection in the water. Like the final words of a ghost story, I muttered, "Will you have now?" Thanks for coming by. Don't forget to like and subscribe.